So why don't we start with everyone introducing themselves? So you know who I am. So.
I'm Mark Kay, chairman of BlockSafe Technologies. That was described a little bit yesterday. It's a great company where we do have many software solutions that are in the policy control and the access market. Definitely security is a big issue around the blockchain world, and we definitely are focused on it. We've licensed products from Strikeforce Technologies. That is a 49% owner of BlockSafe, and their products really work in the ecosystem for the blockchain ecosystem, which is cryptocurrent, crypto defender, and the blockchain defender as well. And it's very strong products that work very well in that area. Crypto defender, again, it stops key logging from getting in, which is a critical malware. 89% of all malware is key logging, and 94% of all hacking is malware, actually. And keep in mind, in cybersecurity, 1.3 billion is hacked every day in the market of blockchain. So it's a huge market. It's going into the trillions. It's supposed to be 2.3 trillion by 2022. So it's an area that, remarkably, not everybody's focused on. And yet, it's a major, major effect, and people are losing. And even though the blockchain is a very safe market, and I'll agree to that, but getting into the blockchain is not. So in the Blockchain Defender, we work with the private blockchains and definitely are securing the products getting into there with out-of-band authentication, which is patented, the Crypto Defender is patented, and then we're building them their own patent that actually includes other products as well, such as access control. And definitely the patents are very strong. We beat Microsoft already on the Crypto Defender patent, and it's very, very capable area. So that's what we do.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Weinstein. I'm Chief Business Development Officer of Enecuum. We actually do new infrastructure blockchain protocol, which is solving most of the problems around security, scalability, and speed. We have 60,000 transactions per second on testnet right now. And we also have mobile mining, which enables to create blockchain nodes on mobile phones. It's very good for developing countries.
Hello everyone, my name is John. I'm a Chief Marketing Officer at ICO Rating. ICO Rating right now, it's the largest rating agency for the ICO market. For example, we're doing the same business like at Fitch, Moody's and S&P, but just for crypto, only for crypto. And we evaluate the startups and provide this data to our partners. It's more than 20 hedge funds who manage more than $2 billion. And I think that's all.
Good morning. Hanging here with IQ Token CEO. I was here yesterday. We talked a little bit about this, but I'll give you a quick overview again. We provide premium internet experience for the masses, not just the enterprise. And we kind of touched base yesterday about some of gaming, video, and just really overall better experience. Right now, everybody's used to a poor experience on their internet, and everybody accepts that. So I'm here to change that.
All right. So John, let's start with you. Talk about, so you're ICO Rating, right?
Yeah.
So what have you seen in terms of trends of what's coming to your desk in terms of quality and in terms of where the companies are originating from?
Yes, first of all, I think main trends right now, the most important trends in the ICO market, it's like the arriving of a lot of institutional players. The guys who maybe half a year ago say, no, we shouldn't do it, but right now a lot of institutional hedge funds, institutional exchanges, institutional portfolio managers try to be involved. As first of all, and this trend, to give us a really interesting situation because requirements to projects are really increasing. If you right now want to raise maybe 10 million, 20 million and more, you should be absolutely suitable for really difficult requirements from institutional players. You should have a really good tokenomics, reasonable tokenomics. You should have absolutely relevant team for a task. For example, if you want to create something that will disrupt the industry, you should have a team who maybe do it in the previous life, maybe who can do it, who has absolutely relevant experience. First of all, also the financial model and legal part. Right now, legal foundation is maybe most important things. If you haven't a good foundation about the legal, about if you don't suitable to requirements from regulators, nobody will invest in you, because it's a lot of risk for exchanges, for funds, for everyone who right now wants to be involved in the market. And it's a big problem, because right now, according to our reports, less than half of all startups really have a good legal foundation. And also right now, I think the quality of projects will increase, because number of like quantity of projects right now decreasing, but the amount of money are increasing. And I will hope, and we will hope that quality of projects will increase, and a lot of really good company will tokenize. For example, a lot of company will launch absolutely new business and will bring a lot of value to the market.
And Mark, what are you seeing in your business in terms of internationalization?
Well, definitely, I mean, internationalization is the only place you can get money these days. Not much in the U.S. you could do, and everything is waiting on the SEC and seeing what they want to do. And definitely everything in the U.S. is a security token for the most part. So we're seeing a lot of companies starting internationally and doing their businesses internationally 100%. Then, of course, they have issues of how to bring the money into the U.S., but there are all ways they're figuring out, and it could be made illegal depending on what's going on.
And do you find that there's a difference in the quality of the international the companies? Are you dealing with companies coming from the international market, or companies coming from the U.S. market, mostly?
Well, I really am not sure. I think companies from the U.S. market are definitely going international that are doing anything, because that's the only place they could do it. We're doing a security token here in the U.S. as well, but really to make money, we have to start up and work with a company that's doing it internationally, and we're starting to do that.
And Jeb, is your business international, or where are you based?
Our business is very international. We have registered company in Hong Kong. Our COO is based in Hong Kong, and several team members. I'm based in Germany, Düsseldorf. We choose Hong Kong because of the light regulations, but still we took like one of the best companies from the legal perspective, KWM, because it's a necessity. Otherwise, you fall down immediately to security, and you have a lot of problems with the U.S. government, even though that you're actually not acting as a U.S. entity.
Han?
So originally, when I started this, the SEC didn't give any guidance about security tokens and utility tokens, and they did this last 2 months ago. So initially, when I started in Cambodia, in France, and the United States. Initially, I was going to focus only in the United States and go from that perspective. But now I'm starting in Cambodia first. So I have a project going in Cambodia, and then from there I'll be moving back to the United States. And I've been working with a couple other companies to do an S1 filing too as well. So I can hit this market harder.
Interesting. So when I've been doing emerging markets for 30 years, right? And so there's always been a prejudice in the United States against foreign companies. It's always been that, that company in Argentina is great, but if it was in New York or San Francisco, it'd be worth 2-3 times more, right? Do you think that there's the same kind of difference, arbitrage in value for being international and U.S., or do you think that gap is changing or flipping right now?
From my perspective, I have an operation out of Portland, Oregon, and we have our whole team is in Portland, Oregon. So I don't think from my perspective, my team's value or my company's value is going to change. It's from the fundraising perspective where I'm doing internationally. That's what's changing. So I had to go open an office up, hire a team out there so I could operate out there. But from my perspective, my company is operating out of the United States. And as all the decision makers, all the marketing directors, everything here is in Oregon.
Interesting. And John, what do you say in terms of the do you look at the valuation of the companies at all in the ICO rating, or is it just the quality of the content?
It's a really good question. And like first of all, I started from the really started this question. We operating globally too. We work in Singapore. We work in the United States. Also, we evaluate the startups from all over the world. For example, if your startups based in Hong Kong, maybe like Portland, Oregon, and yeah, it's absolutely suitable for us. And we evaluate everyone. And yeah. So what was the main question?
The main question was whether you're seeing valuation differences between U.S. and international companies.
Yeah, sure. I see, yeah, because right now United States company, pay a lot of attention, more attention for legal side, because right now in the United States we have like maybe the most difficult regulatory bodies requirements of the world. The first of all, also in United States we can see maybe really more attention to business side, to financial model, to like the team and other things. I think it's like it depends on really old culture of startups, old culture of business in the United States. Maybe it depends of it, and also I should say that a lot of teams, it's like regardless, United States based, Asia based, anything else, it's really international. A lot of guys from like the Russian, from Europe, from Asia, from United States in one team, and we can determine it. It's like the United States company or it's international company. It's absolutely global and decentralized. And I think the difference between these two types of company, it's not like a really big right now.
So you really see that the importance of the national boundaries is decreasing over time?
I think yeah. It's not like a really 100% answer, but yeah, usually yeah.
And Zev, you said you do mining, right?
Yes, we do two sorts of mining. We do proof of work and proof of activity on mobile phone.
And that business by its nature is international, right? I mean,
It's international, but of course it depends on many factors, the price of electricity, data centers, ASICs, and things like that.
and so you choose more on input costs than on the political system where you're forming the companies, or how does that work?
We definitely choosing the place where we established ourselves based on long-term regulation. So we want to have this place as stable as possible, and we see Hong Kong as one of those locations. There are a lot of interesting places. Let's say, I myself from Latvia originally, so Baltics is super nice. It looks like fairy tale, but then it changes every quarter, so it's very unstable from the perspective of long-term business.
Right.
Yeah, but I think if you really want to attract a lot of money, you should based in United States or in China. You should have like a holding company that will have like a registration. It's really crypto-friendly region, like the Gibraltar, like at Singapore, maybe it's Zug, as my colleague mentioned. But if you really want to get to access to a really big amount of money, if you want to attract money from hedge funds, from venture funds who operate in United States, you should be here. You should have team here. Maybe not like it shouldn't be a main jurisdiction, but you should operate here. It's like you can't, create really global business if will sit like in one country, like in Zug in Switzerland, like the Gibraltar. It's absolutely impossible, and it is the reason why everyone should be suitable for every regulatory body's requirements, not only for US, Singapore, Zug, Gibraltar, Malta, European Union too. It's a really necessity and a big challenge because traditional company right now don't facing with this situation. But every ICO, it's really young company without a really strong foundation. But every company should be pay a lot of attention to this question. It's really expensive. It's really difficult for everyone right now.
So I think it's also basically United States is the biggest IT market in the world. So there are two tracks here. One track is enterprise blockchain. For this, you definitely need to have teams here and create marketing, sales, whatever is needed. And there are a lot of possibilities for enterprise applications. It's not related to ICO whatsoever. It's not related to the hype. It's not related to speculation. The other part is the speculation part with the exchanges and all this stuff. So mainly for this, our companies establish themselves in places where it's very, very light regulation, like Estonia, Hong Kong, Singapore. I wouldn't say that the company needs to be a USA-based company to raise a lot of money, specifically in blockchain. The company is supposed to make either financial product or infrastructure blockchain. And if it's working really, then it will make a lot of noise and a lot of money on ICO. All other ones are like they're doing something, but much less. 25%. Normally, they raise only 25% of what they intend to raise.
Right. That's true. I mean, we see information by exception, not by the rule, right? So and we see the outliers. But the truth is, most ICOs don't raise the money they're going out to raise. But most ICOs don't need as much money as they're trying to raise either. So, exactly. Don't report that for me either. So, my experience is that the thing that's made the United States an attractive capital market over time has been the transparency of information and the rules-based economy and the courts of law, so that you basically were able to have some level of knowledge of what you were actually getting. And so I'm curious to hear how the panelists think about the ICOs that they see, and how do you judge the quality of what you're looking at? Start at the end, I think.
Well, I think this year has changed quite a bit about transparency. The marketplace, just the way how ICOs are presenting. With us, when we presented our technology, we presented our solution, it was quite different than what I thought it was going to be. Last year, you get one website up, one page, and you get $10 million. Now, it's not quite the same. When I'm talking to investors on a regular basis, they want my performer. They want what the normal venture capitalist wants. They want the full package. And that's the difference I'm seeing now. And then they want bios of every single team member I have. Last year, I don't think that would have been the case. This year, in-depth analysis of my team, my company, my registration, my letter of incorporation, you name it, in the United States, internationally. So I think it's changing.
Interesting. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'll speak with my brother.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but we definitely don't see a big issue in that as well. We see the ICOs in the U.S. getting a lot of questioning by the investors. Definitely wanting to see everything about the company, not just the white paper, like you just said. Definitely want to see about where you incorporated, how big you are, where's your next deal coming from, and we see that hurting us and being able to provide that information. Again, we're still looking overseas at using companies that are definitely doing ICOs overseas and working with them carefully.
Approximately 85% of ICOs, they do not have a product. They have just PowerPoint, white paper, a nice idea, maybe good team. Sometimes Ryan Gosling in the team, and I think it's crucial that investors will have audit for ICOs in order to remove those scammers away, because they are disrupting and destroying really interesting projects that can raise much more money, actually.
First of all, I absolutely agree with you. Transparency is a key factor to growth for this market, and in the United States especially, because now a lot of investors have really large expertise and invest in venture capital and like a traditional market, and for them it's really important, have an approach to evaluate startups, have an approach to make a due deal. You're absolutely right, and right now every investor, thinks that should know everything about the company, everything about the traction, and we shouldn't forget it's like a very, very a frequent mistake when startups think about only ICO. For example, we raise money, and what we will do after this one, we don't know. But right now, if you attract investors, yeah, absolutely, you try to attract smart money, the money who will help you in future, who will help you be listed on the exchanges, who will help you open a lot of doors on the zero domestic market. It's the reason why if you want to create really and one guess. Yeah, if you want to attract, if you want to go to international market, you should have the partners, hedge funds, investors, maybe whale pools from your key regions. For example, if you want to operate in the European Union, in Asia, in the United States, you shouldn't attract money only from Asia. You should attract money from every region. And also, I think right now transparency it's not enough. Because now transparency without other factors like the high quality of projects, like the really strong teams, strong companies, strong traction of these companies, and a lot of successful case after ICO. I think successful case after ICO really can help us to grow this market, to help this market grow in future. Because right now all investors really want liquidity, really want to know what's going on after ICO and what they should expect in the long-term, short-term period. And if you raise $50 million, it's not success. It's like a first step on the really, really long way.
So that's interesting. One of the things I've learned in terms of doing the emerging markets as regions was that the most important indicator of value was actually liquidity, right? that that it's not until the markets become liquid where real value can flow in, because it's not that hard to buy things, but it's very hard to sell them at a profit, right? And so you need to have active markets, and so that's something which what's interesting about this market is that there was so much liquidity early on in the system, and that's what really drew everyone's attention was, hey, you can move this stuff around and it's going up and I can shift it around, and look what's happening to my net value. Everyone's doing it in dollars, it's going up. Truth is there was very little liquidity to get it out of the crypto, which is another interesting situation, which is going to be fixed, I think, very soon. But liquidity is the driving factor. And so I think when you're talking about international, you also have to talk about exchanges, right? So in the United States, it's really great that we have this idea of securities and placement of securities, but the fact is there is no place where you can legally trade or even list a security token. So you can comply with every law on the face of the earth. You can be the perfect player you possibly be, and you can print your token, and there is not a place where you can put it where it can be held or traded legally today. And this is just a sign of the paralysis that the United States government is going through right now. Now, there are a bunch of exchanges which are coming around. There's Templum, there's T0, which threatens to be around every once in a while. There's North Capital, which is doing a good job. There's a group called OFN out of Chicago. What you're going to see, I believe, is that the people who are trading Reg D paper and making secondary markets in Reg D paper are going to be the ones who horizontally integrate tokens into their product, because the truth is the legal strategy of the placement of Reg D paper, most of which is real estate related, is actually this identical to where everyone is assuming that we need to take the tokens to be able to be traded as securities. And the truth is, no matter how much advice you get from your lawyers about being a security token and complying with the law, the fact is the SEC and the judiciary and the executive branch have not yet told us that that actually is accurate, right? So basically all this could end up being rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic, right? Because they can come out tomorrow and say, forget all that, it's a different breed, and we don't like the way it trades afterwards, we don't want the democratization, we want to maintain the control, we're worried about taxation, and they could change all this. Or they could just do nothing, right? And so we could be sitting here waiting all day at the door, ringing the doorbell, and there could be nobody on the other side of the door. So that's the US. I'm not as facile about international. So do you have any experience with international exchanges? Or who's done an ICO here? Is anyone? So tell me about your experience with exchanges as an ICO.
I did actually one successful, and we actually, they listed only right now on some really kind of crappy exchange.
Which one?
Basically.
Wait. Now you have to say which one.
I will not say.
I have some other crappy ones for you, by the way. Okay.
Everybody has its own idea of what is crappy and what is good, But I think it's very important to have exchanges that are backed up by banks or institutions that we normally trust. Because otherwise, all those exchanges, they do not provide, let's say, security audits, compliances, and stuff like that, specifically around security audits and compliances. So you're basically putting your money in a sack, not knowing what's going to be happening to it. Maybe tomorrow the exchange will be hacked, and all your money is gone, and all customers' money is gone. And what kind of warranty you have that it will not happen? Zero warranty. So I think it's very important that somebody will step up from the big banks or some kind of other financial institutions and really start to make something that is fully compliant with standard stuff like PCI compliance and all the other things. Because otherwise it will just continue to be hacked and DDoSed, and all the people will suffer from it. Even the big exchanges, sometimes they begin hacked.
Mark, you're doing an ICO now? Sorry.
Yeah, we're doing an ICO now, security ICO, so obviously we have no exchange, and we feel funny taking people's money, but we have to, so we are collecting money at the time. And we're doing a 506, B, and we're collecting a lot of money, actually. We've got over, a lot of money. We have over about 600,000 we're collected already. We're looking for 2 million in the first round, but we're hearing all kinds of stories. Every time we meet a lawyer, we say, we have to hire that lawyer, but then we talk to them in more detail, and whatever they said isn't quite true. So we're not even so we really, are stuck with lawyers. They're all on committees with the SEC, They all seem to know everything except the SEC is not doing anything particular, so none of them are really know that much. Even an auditor, we have a hard time getting an auditor to audit our ICO as well. So it's not easy in the U.S., and we definitely are running it, and we are keeping it with a TBD at the end because we don't know when it's going to down, which is why we're focusing. And don't forget, a lot of what we're doing is we're selling products. Our products sell internationally probably better than they sell in the U.S. right now because they are stopping cybersecurity, which is a big issue, especially in the blockchain world.
Yes, and it's a really good question because now we're working with exchanges like Huobi, Binance, and the other guys. Also working with hedge funds who every day trading on these exchanges. And yeah, right now it's a big challenge. If you haven't enough money, for example, for large exchanges, really a reasonable price, like $2 or $3 million only for listing, it's not enough. You should be absolutely transparent for exchanges because exchanges, for example, like the Binance on Malta, on Malta, really crypto-friendly, low crypto-friendly requirements. And you can trade security, you can trade utility, and as you want. But if you want to be listed like the Binance, Huobi, OKX, Kraken, and other big exchanges, you should have absolutely really good transparent situation with your products. Exchanges should be informed about what about your legal traction, and if any regulators in any countries right now had a really claims to you, exchanges say no. Because now it's a question of reputation, a question about delisting, a question about the really high risk to investors, for investors. And right now, if you want to be listed, you should be absolutely transparent. We bring to the market right now our products like the post-ICO rating. It's for it's like a solution for every who right now think about to be listed on the exchanges and try to find a really good argument for these exchanges. Try to show that they are really transparency, they really have traction, they really have a business and foundation, and they are not a scam. Because now you can be scam on ICO stage, and also you can be scam as well on the post-ICO stage too. We have that guarantee, and we want transparency. But you're absolutely right. If you want trade security, you should go to the other jurisdiction, maybe like the Malta, maybe like a Gibraltar, maybe like the several Asian countries. And I think United States will provide the most soft requirements, maybe in this year, maybe next year too. And a lot of United States exchanges open their door for United States investors too. But if you want, you have tools, you have the approach, you have doors. Maybe right now it's maybe more difficult than we want, but you have opportunity to trade securities in the United States too. Why not? But you should use it as a jurisdiction. You should use the hedge funds and portfolio managers. Why not?
That's actually the premise of our fund, so I agree.
So we're going to ICO this next month. I've talked to probably about 5 exchanges. I won't list them. The requirements dramatically different. Depends on who you talk to, from the Asian markets to the Europeans to the United States. And the list of forms you have to fill out and I have to give to my lawyer, the fees are quite different as you go into the bigger exchanges. The smaller exchanges, I can get away with probably a few $1,000s. With the bigger exchanges, just my lawyer fees were into the 100. And I haven't done it yet because once he gave me that number, I'm going to wait on those. Because that's just not feasible for me right now to list on the big exchanges. And the big exchanges, that's not even paying the exchange fee.
What are the ranges of the exchange fees?
We mentioned it earlier already. And so the tiny ones were 20 to 30, and they were the crappy exchanges, I won't list them. But the bigger ones, I was getting the $3 million, $4 million number. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no way right now, especially at the stage I'm at. But that's the variance right now that's going on.
Interesting. All right, should we open up to questions? In the back, hands up first.
So I see a little contradiction here. To get the liquidity, you have to get listed. To get listed in the exchange, they'll ask you for a legal opinion that your token is utility. Now, a legal opinion issued by a lawyer, you can get that from Zoop, you can get it from Gibraltar. You will never get it in the U.S. And we'll come back to getting the liquidity. It means that to get the liquidity, you have to reside outside of the U.S. Is that true? What's your comments on that?
From our perspective, I think it's true. Definitely true. Because it's a race. All those countries like Russia, China, US, they're all racing in this blockchain race. So if US will not hurry up and get themselves into normal regulation for companies to comply with, they'll just lose out. and they will be left behind. And that can have tremendous bad circumstances in the future. Maybe China will decide to actually accept all the ICO stuff and blockchain and decide to switch and start to populate something as an alternative to SWIFT system based on blockchain. And what happens then? So if nobody's using the SWIFT system, that's quite bad for United States, right?
Yeah, it's like a very, very short, and it's the reason why you should have like a holding jurisdiction, holding company, and you should base like it in the countries that like the more crypto friendly than US. But you should operate in US. Maybe not try to be listed in US, but you should operate here. It's not like a big problem, big challenge for every startups. I think my colleague can say absolutely the same things. If you want to be listed, you can use absolutely crypto friendly jurisdiction like Malta, Gibraltar. Why not?
Okay.
So you mentioned China. My brother's been sending me a lot of articles about China and creating standards lists. And I think, like you said, it's going to be a race. And as of right now, I think, from my perspective, I'm even. And I'm afraid that the later you go ICO, it might change. Like you said, it might not change, but that's why I changed my timeline and what I'm doing right now to hopefully we can even our bets.
So what's happening in the U.S. right now is there's so much money here, and American investors are actually relatively poor at assessing and executing investments in international investments historically. So even though everything you said is true, the U.S. investor is still tending towards these illiquid investments in companies which they're being told will do token deals, whatever that means, and that will have liquidity wherever they'll find out later. So it's kind of a strange situation where they're buying basically futures of the tokens instead of the tokens themselves. It's a good example of governmental impact tends to be the leading proponent of the law of unintended consequences, right? So what's supposed to be protecting the investors is forcing them to really what's a more dangerous investment because it lacks liquidity and you don't know what happens at the back end of it. Right, but that's where the U.S. money is going.
Telegram is the biggest example.
Yeah, I mean Telegram. We did not invest in Telegram. Any other questions?
Yeah. So I've been seeing this trend last year. It was all about anyone could invest. It was all about utility tokens, and now all of these utility crowd sales are becoming 5-10% sales, where most of the funds go into privately, and basically the people who are investing in those are pretty much accredited investors. It's kind of like investing in utility token by security. So what I'm seeing now is as people are talking about flipping from a utility to security token, but isn't that kind of going against the whole crypto policy of everyone being able to participate and everyone being able to invest? Because now what is happening is just people who are accredited investors that can invest in these things, and when the tokens will be listed as a security token, they'll only be tradable by certain people who qualify. So effectively there'll be the majority of the market taken out of it, and the small investors won't be in it. Is that the picture I'm seeing?
I think that's accurate, and I think that's that's the way we regulate, right? The United States equates, for some reason, we equate wealth with intelligence, and I've never seen that link, myself. But that's what we do. So you have to have enough money, right, to be smart enough to figure out if you can take this risk. And what it really does is exactly what you're saying, going back to political and social, is it says to a person that's a wage earner that can only spend their hours to earn money, that we're not going to give you the chance to take asymmetrical risks so that you don't have to work at McDonald's anymore, right? And that's really what's happening, is that we're treating the 1% and saying you can have access to this because you're smart, because you're wealthy, right? And so take a shot at it, see if you can get to the moon and get a Lambo or whatever the hell's going on, right? But that other people, you don't qualify. And so that is where we are right now, and that is the major difference between what the United States and Asia in terms of this crypto craze. This is the biggest and fastest creation and redistribution of wealth in humankind. It's never happened like this fast, and it's never been redistributed away from white male Christians this fast, right? And again, so I'm just saying that flatly without any aspersion. That's what's happening.
But at the same time, you're shutting out anyone else who's coming in at the later stage. So all the small investors now are having the same problems that are having in the current space.
Right, but that always happens. So VC world is about access, right? When a company first comes out, they're desperate for money. They'll take it from anybody, right? We just need the money. I got to pay the bills. I got to get over the hump. Then all of a sudden, they become it, and people know who they are. And then all of a sudden, the game is, well, you know, I got a bouncer at the door, and I'm only going to take the money if I like who you are, and if your name helps sell my deal, or if you get me into parties, right? And so it becomes then as an investor, the people that are successful, and remember, about 40% of all the gains in the VC community in the United States are garnered by 4 companies, by 4 leading VCs, because they get into the deals they want after they know it's hot, and when they're invited in because they are important to have on your cap table, right? That's the way it works. And again, like I said before, this is not something different. We are just in the new next turn of exactly the same process that you go through for every other asset class. Zeph, you want to say something?
Yeah, it's when you're becoming it, there is FOMO.
Never happened to me.
You know FOMO?
Yes.
Fear of missing out. And then you get all, you know, just people throwing money at you, and this is becoming ridiculous. And if you need just like X amount of money and they throw at you X60, so what to do with it? So it's an interesting problem, very good one. Hopefully everybody will enjoy it, but this problem actually present right now.
Any other questions? On this side? This side was a lot more active than that side. Come on.
You mentioned that there seems to be a lot of ideas of people trying to list, and so I'm just curious if there's any advice on people refining the ideas, or if they're. I know exchanges sometimes give you feedback, traditional exchanges. So in this particular case, is there an opportunity to sort of like get feedback and then you come back 3 months later, 6 months later? What's the process right now?
I would guess from the product perspective, if you look at analytics, what kind of ICOs were successfully raising money, it's either you have financial product or you have infrastructure blockchain. So if you have those and you really have something like testnet or I don't know, proof of concept, MVP, then and it does exactly what you're claiming it does, I would guess it's not a problem to get money from investors anymore. If it's something else like betting or I don't know, something weird, then it can be a problem.
Any other questions?
Like the first comment, I can't agree with you because right now I think from our side, according to our data, you can have infrastructure product, like the financial product, yeah. But if you haven't really strong relations with hedge funds, with venture funds, with institutional players, you can't raise enough money. You raise like 10 millions, and what should you do with 10 millions? How you will spend it? 3 million to exchanges, and what about other 7 million? You will burn it like for 1 year. You should have really strong relations with investors. And if you're right now thinking about the ICO this year, you should do it right now. On this event, maybe next event, I don't know. Every day you should try to find anyone who will help you. Who will help you like a smart money, who will help you like your whale, like your foundation. And retail investors is absolutely great. But retail, like the follow to institutionals, you know. If you will attract like the 4 venture funds, you will have a lot of retail investors too. Don't forget about it because market has changed. Right now, it's not market for retails; it's market for institutionals. And you know, during this year and after this year, next years, we will see how institutional will take a lot of more market share. It's really good. I think it's another market and requirements, you know, are increasing. But for us, it's really good. For every good project, it's good situation. It's a very productive situation. You will have a lot of money, a lot of access to great money to get sources. And I think you know startups who are now sitting in this panel discussion, who are sitting on this audience. I think for everyone from us, it's really good movement. We should say thank you, and we are ready. We will improve, and we will try to attract more money and more attention from smart guys.
I can answer also something regarding your question. This is my own way, yeah. So I actually met the project where I'm currently working on hackathon that I was creating together with the R&D director of a very big bank and another very big telecom operator in St. Petersburg. So there was like a hackathon of several teams, and they were doing something immediately on the spot during this hackathon. And those guys were doing something extremely amazing, and I saw it. And they were like really in the beginning of the stage. So I would guess that it's, and to to invest in this hackathon for me was like to put something like $5,000 of a price. So it's nothing, more or less. And eventually I got to participate in projects that I think will change the world, really. So.
Very first comment, because you asked about exchanges. I think we should answer to your question. Yeah, large exchanges, the exchanges who are thinking about the reputation, provide you feedback. But it's not a guarantee. It depends on about the policy of exchanges. Right now, we have a lot of players who operate absolutely differently. And right now, yeah, large exchanges will provide you feedback, will provide you your weaknesses, but you should know about your weaknesses before you listen. Yeah, because if exchanges say, no, we will reject, it's decreasing your chance to be listed in the future.
I think this is a collaborative community, and it's based on the belief of the intelligence of the crowd. So I think it makes sense to socialize your idea and to use the crowd to bulletproof and improve your platform. I think it's probably a mistake to rely on the exchanges to help you improve your product, right? Because they have they have a scarcity of time. They don't really need you because they're oversupply of deals. And once you show them a weakness, you're probably going to be, discounted with that, through the process as you go there. So I would say it would make more sense to use the wisdom of the crowd and socialize it prior to getting to the exchange rather than using the exchange as a methodology. Any other questions? All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
I